Today let us discuss about Gulick and Urwick. Gulick and Urwick are also considered as classical thinkers. Their most significant contribution largely regards to their synthesis of the various classical concepts and ideas, which they had presented in their most important publication, the Papers in Science of Administration. Gulick and Urwick, like Fayol, also believed that administration is administration and there is nothing public about it. So they believed in developing a science of administration. Apart from that, Gulick and Urwick also believed that there is a close interlinking between art as well as science of administration. Art refers to the skill and techniques which can be applied to solve a particular problem. And according to Gulick and Urwick, the science of administration in fact enhances the art of administration, because the science of administration largely provides the in-depth research and analysis that is required in order to perform a particular job in a more efficient manner. Even though Gulick and Urwick largely conferred with most of the classical theorists, they usually differed in two major aspects. One is regarding the politics and administrative dichotomy. Gulick and Urwick did not believe in politics and administration dichotomy, rather they believed in the politics and administration fusion. The second aspect is Gulick and Urwick they did not believe in excessive centralization. Rather, they advocated delegation and decentralization in the organization so that the manager can unburden himself from unnecessary responsibilities and largely concentrate on more important responsibilities to achieve greater efficiency and productivity in the organization. Gulick and Urwick are largely known as structural thinkers because their primary emphasis was on designing a proper structure of the organization. According to them, without a proper structure, the organization will become inefficient, cruel and wasteful. Because without a proper structure, the management will have no idea of the kind of positions to be filled and the kind of people who are required with the appropriate skill in order to fill these positions. So without this proper scientific analysis, the organization would move towards greater inefficiency and would largely become wasteful. Apart from focusing on the structural aspects, Gulick and Urwick also consolidated and synthesized the various functional dimensions that have been given by the previous classical thinkers and came out with the post-corp functions of an executive or the administrator. The post-corp actually refers to the first letters of the major functions that are being performed by a manager. The first one is the planning, the second one O refers to organizing, S refers to staffing, D to directing, CO refers to coordinating, and R refers to reporting, and B refers to budgeting. In fact, the post-corp view is nothing but integrating the commanding under staffing and directing and integrating the controlling aspects under the reporting and budgeting aspects. So they primarily converted the POCCC of Fayol into the post-corp. Regarding the various principles of organization, most of the principles of Gulick and Urwick actually coincided with the principles that have been given by Fayol and Taylor. So we would largely discuss the unique principles that have been given by Gulick and Urwick. The first unique aspect that Gulick and Urwick have emphasized on is the need for departmentalization. According to Gulick and Urwick, after proper division of work, there is a need to create the subunits. And these subunits or specialized units within the organization can be organized based on the 4 P's, known as purpose, process, people and places. These 4 P's can be adequately examined by considering the various ministries and departments that are there in the union government. For example, in India, based on the purpose or the function that has to be achieved, there is a Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of External Affairs that have been created. Even the Ministry of Defense comes under this. Regarding the process or the various techniques that are involved in performing a function, there is the Controller and Auditor General that has been created as a separate constitutional authority. The departmentalization can also be based on certain people. For example, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Labour, etc. are the various subunits that have been created on the basis of people. Based on places also, there can be various administrative units. For example, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi is one of the most important example of creating subunits based on places. However, it should be noted that these bases of departmentalization are not compartmentalized. In practicality, or in fact with respect to the criticism of Gulick and Urwick, most of the departmentalization that we see in the practical affairs consists of based on either one or more of these P's. Like for example, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi not only deals with a particular place called Delhi, but also involves a particular function or purpose called dealing with the municipal affairs. So in practicality, there is a union of one or more P's. The second unique principle suggested by Gulick and Urwick refers to the single executive. According to Gulick and Urwick, an organization has to be headed by a single person and not by a body of individuals such as boards or committees. These body of individuals will largely lead to greater confusion and lack of accountability. This may also lead to confusion, wastefulness and irresponsibility on part of the people who are heading the organization if they are based on committees or boards. So they emphasized on the need for unity of leadership in an organization. The other important principle that Gulick and Urwick have proposed as the staff principle. According to Gulick and Urwick, the staff principle actually flows from the principle of unity of leadership. Since a leader in an organization has to deal with a number of activities, there is a need for assistance in the performance of his function. So Gulick and Urwick have promoted the idea of staff who can be both specialist as well as generalist. The specialist staff actually help the leader in giving him the technical advice as well as providing him the adequate information, while on the other hand, the general staff actually deal with various functions of management and assist him in matters of commanding, coordination and control. The other important principle that was emphasized by Gulick and Urwick is the delegation. Gulick and Urwick stated that it is necessary for a leader within the organization or a manager in order to properly delegate some of his responsibilities which are unimportant, so that he could largely focus on important responsibilities which could lead to greater efficiency and productivity within the organization. The fifth and most important principle has been the span of control. According to Gulick and Urwick, a manager or supervisor can supervise only a limited number of subordinates at any given point of time, while Urwick has mentioned an upper limit to the number of subordinates as 4 and 6, 5 to 6 in fact, and however Gulick was more open and he came out with a series of conditions which could affect the supervision. First we'll discuss the argument of Urwick. Urwick stated that if the number of subordinates increase in arithmetic progression, The supervisory responsibilities of a manager increase in geometric or in permutation and combination, because a supervisor has to supervise three types of relations: the direct relations, the cross relations, and the group relations. For example, in this example of A, B and C, A has to supervise relation with respect to AB and AC, which constitute the direct relation. The group relation refers to the relation between A, B and C, and the cross relation refers to the relations of C with respect to A and B and the relation of B with respect to A and C. So when the number of subordinates increases in arithmetic progression, the number of relations that a supervisor has to supervise increases in geometric progression. Gulick, on the other hand, stated that the number of subordinates which can be supervised largely depends on three major conditions, namely the individual knowledge and expertise. The second one is the kind of work that is being performed. For example, in the routine type of organization, there is a scope for greater supervision. And the third is the type of organization. In a stable organization, a manager can supervise more number of candidates because of established rules and procedures. The criticism of Gulick and Urwick can be largely referred to the general criticism of the classical theory of organization. There are five major critics of Gulick and Urwick. The first one regards to the critic by Simon, who states that the principles of administration are largely mere proverbs, because just like a proverbs, the principles occur in pairs and they are mutually contradictory to each other. For example, the principle of specialization and the principle of unity of command actually contradict each other. Based on the principle of unity of command, only a single person can supervise an individual, but based on principle of specialization, there can be more than one individual who has to supervise an individual, because work consists of a number of components. The second most important criticism has been that the classical theory has largely advocated on the structural aspects of the organization and neglected the human aspects. The third regards to rationality. The classical theory assumed that the human beings are rational individuals and are capable of taking rational decisions. However, Simon opposed it and stated that decision making can be only based on bounded rationality and not absolute rationality, because they have a number of limitations. The fourth most important critic has been the empirical validity of the principles of administration. As a number of scholars have criticized, the classical theories have largely been based on particular experiences of the major theorists like Fayol and Gulick and Urwick, as well as Taylor, and they are not based on verification and falsification. The fifth most important critic has been that the classical theory of administration has largely neglected the ecological aspects. The functioning of an organization also depends on the kind of environment in which it is functioning, which has largely been ignored by the classical thinkers. Conclusion. Despite the various criticisms that have been hurled at Gulick and Urwick and various classical thinkers, no study regarding a science of administration can be taken up without reference to these principles. In fact, the structural aspects of the organization, as Gulick and Urwick have stated, are largely required in order to ensure efficiency in the organization and to prevent wastefulness. And the structural as well as the human components are complementary to each other and the two sides of the same coin. Without a proper structure, an organization cannot plan its human or personal management. Apart from this, the modern situational theories and modern studies in administration actually deal with the dynamic application of the principles of administration in varying situations. So the principles of administration are also required in order to come out with a situational approach. So this ends our discussion on Gulick and Urwick. Thank you.